Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me today. I am obviously not Eric Rhodes. He is on vacation, and I have taken over the show. For those of you who don't know me, my name is 𝗂𝗶𝘁 𝗖𝗹𝗪. I have been with Streamline for a little over 12 years now. I am the marketing project manager for the company. I am the manager of the Plein Air Salon Art Competition, as well as the community ambassador for Pastel Today, our newsletter for all things pastel. Kelly Kane, who edits Plein Air Magazine, does a fantastic job writing articles for the newsletter, and I try to supplement that with little things that are going on in the pastel community. So that's a lot of fun for me to do. It's a new passion for me because I love pastel so much. So that's me. And with us today, we have Chinese artist Zhaoming Wu. He is a successful artist whose work hangs in museums and private collections around the world. He's served as an assistant professor of painting at the, I'm going to say it wrong, Guangzhou Academy of Fine Arts for 7 years and is currently a professor of painting at the Academy of Art University. He does workshops throughout the United States and Europe every year. He has participated in solo shows and exhibitions in museums and galleries around the world. And for 10 consecutive years, he has been invited to serve as a jury member of the Modern Portrait International Competition at the Museum of Modern Art of Europe in Spain, which is one of the most important representational painting competitions in the world today. Zhaoming has published over 11 books of art, as well as many national art magazines in the US, international magazines as well, and has been featured in all kinds of things. So welcome, Zhaoming.
Hi, everyone.
Hello. Zhaoming, what are you going to be doing for us today?
Well, I'm going to do the demo, which is going to be for continue painting, which is already start, but after dry, I want to show everyone's technique, how to continue work on the dry surface, but look like a wet on wet technique.
Oh, interesting.
Mm-hmm. So wonderful. Still a painterly approach, but after dry, you have get something done on the surface. Make this feeling look like still on the wet surface to continue work on it. Because normally, the alla prima painting is basically finish up that wet on wet. But this particular painting is more than one section, so it's already dry on surface. So that technique show you how to make the surface still look like a wet and wet feeling to continue working on wet and wet technique on the dry surface.
Wonderful. Well, let's go ahead and get the show started, and we'll let you get ready.
It's
all right.
Art School Live with Eric Rhodes.
Wonderful. Thank you, everyone. For those of you who are just joining us, we have Zhaoming Wu joining us today. He's going to be doing a demo. So why don't you go ahead and get started? Oh my goodness, look at all those wonderful paintings. These are fantastic. Zhaoming is a Chinese artist who's got so much experience, and he is going to be showing us a special technique today.
So, time to start?
Yes, go ahead.
All right. Okay. So you can see this paintings already basically finished up about, I would say 65% of the painting. After dry a few days already, I want to continue working on that painting. So which is using that as the demo for today. Normally, I working on multiple pieces same time. I believe right now I'm working on 6 paintings same time. So
wow.
And so one day I pick one painting to work on all day. After that day, go to the next day. So that painting still wet and tacky, but not it kind of halfway dry, or close to dry, but not complete dry. So it's not that good to me for continue work on the surface with my technique. So normally I put this on the side. Then I pick another painting to start working on it. Basically like that. So I'm working on 6 paintings same time. I'm not I'm not wasting my time, and I'm not waiting for a particularly pending to dry. I just continue working on another pending. After some pending dry, I go back to working on that. So this is pretty much the same like that today. So the surface already dry.
Mm-hmm.
So I need to oil up the surface. Glazing by using linseed oil. So this is linseed oil. Using clean brush, kind of about inch size, clean brush, and touch using the linseed oil. Normally, if you work in the large piece, you don't need to oil up the whole surface. But this is not a really big size of the pending. It's approximately about, I think this is 1620. I believe that part finished mostly already. Two hand, I need more work. Bottom of the cloth and drapery, and the background edge, I need more work. Of course, I need do some final touch on the face as well. So the major part.
So you're going to only oil up the parts that you want to work on right now?
Probably going to oil up the lower part.
Okay.
Because if I work all day for the whole pending, for instance, I work 8 hours, I oil up the whole surface. But for today, I just going to be oiling up about the lower portion. So I oil up right there. So particularly, I plan to working on the hand in the one in the front, right on that one, because that's closer. There's a little bit more in the distance, so that's more important.
Mm-hmm.
And also going to be working on the edge. Oil up about half that. Once again, if I plan working all day for this pending, I will oil up the whole surface. However, if I get bigger size of the pending, for instance, 30, 40, 36, 48 inch, I only oil up the part or around that part. I plan working on today, so I'm going to oil up that section, that part. So it's already have oil all over it. But it's after I oil up that glazing on that part, right now have looks like too much oil on the surface. If right now you're putting the layer of the pen on the surface, it's later on going to be dripping.
Mm-hmm.
So too thin. So that's not too good. So most of the time, after I oil up the layer of the linseed oil on the surface, I'm using a towel, clean towel, to wipe out mostly. But however, they always still have linseed oil on the surface, even you wipe out it. Just to make sure get really thin on the surface. Get this wet on the surface, that's enough. Do not get too much oil on the surface. So touch up, still kind of wet, but not too wet. It's good timing to continue to working on that on that part. So I make bigger portion of the painting, get oil up, get the oil on the surface. Even probably I'm going to focus on that part for the demo, or maybe a little bit over here. Mostly focus on that part, but I oil up the whole half part. In case I need my brush move on extending to the another area, but I want to make sure not get on the top. I'm not planning working on the top. If I work on the top, I'm going to I'm going to glazing oil up on the upper part before I do that today if I want it. But my plan just working on the bottom part. So now I think that part is finished. So make sure using bigger brush, slightly light touch on the surface. After that,
Zhaoming, what would happen if you didn't put oil on the painting before starting it again?
So after I put glazing the oil on the surface, put up the oil on the surface. So for the blending the edge, much easier. Because if the surface is dry, if you blend, it's difficult to blending get the soft edge. That's one. And two, after you oil up on the surface, there will be see the color better, particularly on the shadow part. After dry, the surface getting dull, particularly on the darker color, getting really dull. The fresh pen, it's even the same color because the fresh, wet looks darker than the dry surface. Same color, looks like a dry surface. So it's difficult to match the underpainting. Even the same color looks darker on the fresh pen. So after you oil up that, same as like fresh pen, value level,
Gotcha.
color level. So easy to match. Knowing what's the underpainting color, the new painting put on the top, you will be see how to work together. So that's one of the key reasons. And so yeah, all the pens dry after dry, they kind of uneven about on the surface. On the some is dull, some it's shining. So after you lay out that, get everything look like wet. So you can look like walking on the wet surface. And yeah, it is also the conjunction between the underpainting, the dry surface to the new layer, easy to get combined, blending together too. So that's the critical reason. So I think after the dry, I think pretty good now. Not too much oil, but get wet already. And I like using the bigger brush to working on kind of a small area in the beginning. If you're using, for instance, when you are working on a hand, probably a lot of people thinking about need a detail to working on the finger, afraid to lose the drawing. So I would suggest you using bigger brush, blocking in the big shape first, and then using type of medium size brush, picking up some detail and some really fine area. Probably you need a really small brush to work on that. So different size. Even working on the small part, still using probably different size of the brush. So from inch to a quarter inch or things like that. So that's oil up technique or glazing technique before I continue working on the dry surface. And I always using that. Basically, every painting I using that technique.
Okay.
Yeah. So kind of working on that part. You can see for the you see the brush mark here. It's this when you dealing with particularly like the fold of the drapery, the cloth, the fold of the cloth. I think in the beginning part, I don't think that is the fold. I think that's the shape. I think the gesture. I thinking about the movement. I thinking about the way to using the brush mark. So pretty abstract in the beginning, but still follow what I feel, what I see, somewhat what I see there. And after I lay out that, somehow I get refining and modeling a little bit, show this the small fold turning, the form of the fold. Somehow I just leave the brush mark to give the edge on the surface. So I don't finish up. I don't finish up every small detail. Somehow I let that unfinished. Give the room for the viewer to finish up the painting. Because, for instance, one line right there to go down over here. So I don't need all the way using one line to connecting one point to another. Because when you get something there, this part is unfinished somewhere around here. The viewer could be using their own experience to finish up that small fold. So give the room for the viewer.
Mm-hmm.
Do not get everything done and make the painting feeling less imagination. So I think you need something. Some are using the word as unfinished or suggestion for the viewer.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So now I'm going back to work on the painting. So I'm going to be using some kind of big brush. I'm mixing the color. In the beginning of the layer of the color, I would be pushing the intensity of the color more, because most of the part I need 2, 3, 4, even 5 layers to finish up. So on the painting, I pushing the intensity of the color. I get a little bit more strong and bright than what I see from the photo. Because after you have more layer putting on here, it subdues the intensity of the color. So the kind of underpainting is a little bit intense. And also, don't be afraid, for instance, the hand, this edge, you don't be afraid paint over to the ground. If you carefully limit your brush and never really go beyond this border, so they will get, sometimes we get really poor brush mark. This. So this underpainting pretty dark. So that is the mark for the shade. But the value, the color is not right. But however, it's initial blocking in for the basic shade of the shadow. So now I going to consider color and the value more. So I'm trying to using the bigger brush, but using the corner of the brush to paint. So to create really interesting brush mark. If every brush is show just like that, pretty boring.
Yeah.
Yeah. So twisting the brush, which with a different angle, different way. Sometimes we paint this way, sometimes paint by the corner. Sometimes you go on this way, sometimes you twisting a little bit. That's basic on what you feel on that part of the subject, to work on that. And of course, some principle you might can follow. For instance, sometimes you follow the form, follow the gesture about the shape, about the figure, the arm. Sometimes you against that. When you get the long brush mark, you might want to have a small one somewhere, things like that.
Yeah, it adds more interest when you can vary up those strokes.
Yeah, yeah. So layer by layer, so more layer, more thicker pen apply for that. If you're using too thin of the color, you're kind of dictating out of the underpainting or wash out the underpainting. So make sure how thick the pen you should using for that. So far, you can see I'm using 1 1/4 inch size of the brush. This is a synthetic brush. I really like it. I like the synthetic brush very much.
Is there a particular reason why?
I don't know, just feeling not too soft, not too hard. If someone who pen very bold, very thick pen application, almost 1/2 of the pen putting on the one stroke, that kind of style, maybe you need using the Bristol because the hairs are harder, can holding the pen better. So it really depends on your style, how thick and how thin your pen application for the pen.
Okay.
I not really care about the subtle detail. For now, just blocking by the basic shape. Even for instance, that small touch just indicated the finger. It's not really rendering the finger yet. Some part need a rendering for that, but most of the part are using suggesting the detail. I'm not really pending the detail.
Right.
So also you can see I'm pushing something right there, the color temperature. So the sunlight come through behind the figure from the window. So the sunlight also bound up over here on the shadow. So shadow have a cool and warm color, and the sunlight also wash out on the drapery, particularly in the very bright part. So that feeling of cooler, but I make cooler than what I see for now. You can see the relationship. If you're checking out the photo, it's not exactly same color. I'm using a certain principle. I know it, and my experience to knowing what kind of color combine together and to create the better relationship for between the light and dark to show the shining of the sunlight. So I push that cooler, give more energy, and for the color. Of course, that's still not a finished level, but however, if I see that look good on the painting, but not exactly match the photo I see, but good for the painting and believable.
Yeah, you're using your artistic license.
Yeah, and so I leave that. I leave that to the end because you using the photo that basically the attitude as that is the reference. I'm not going to copy and duplicate everything I see from there. I just selecting some detailed information. It's useful information, allow me to achieve something beautiful and something what I want for the painting. Using that. So, and also the reference photo, it's even the same image, same photo. If you load in a different device, so on the computer screen or iPad or iPhone, it looks totally different color on that same photo. So the photos, the color relationship is not totally correct. But you just pick the part you look good and you want to use for that. So
Yeah.
that's what I'm doing. And another things I want like to talk is from the original photo, that piece of the drapery, the fabric, it actually have a space to the edge of the shoulder, so they have a space. But for the composition reason, I would like the piece of the cloth want to break into that straight line. You see that diagonal straight line. I want that break into that. Get a connection to the shadow from the light and the shape, and get a better structure of the composition. So that's what I want to do to go over here.
Mm-hmm. Zhaoming, when did you start painting?
I mean, what age?
Yeah.
I start to draw pretty early age. I think maybe I think 5
Oh, wow.
5 years old. Yeah, but I have a formal training 12.
Yeah.
Start learning 12 years old. I start learning 5 value system to see the sphere, and also learning the 1 point, 2 point perspective on age 12. Yeah, pretty early age.
Yeah, definitely.
And my passion continue all my life. I still love painting.
That's great.
So I focus on that part. I already mentioned. That part even I need more work, but however, that's somewhere in the distance.
Mm-hmm.
So that's I need to bring this out, stand out more than this part.
Are you mixing your painting with any sort of medium?
Sometimes I touch a little bit gamsol. So mostly I putting the medium. My medium using is about 70% of the gamsol, 30% of the linseed oil, most like that. But for now, I did not using any medium because I already glazing the medium on the surface.
Right.
So that means already have a medium. So I don't touch anything so far. Maybe later on get the pen getting thicker and getting a little bit tacky. So I maybe touch a little bit about the combination of linseed oil and the gamsol. But for this moment, just using the medium on the surface to moving the brush.
Sure.
You see, it still have oil. You see the brush mark,
Mm-hmm.
almost look like a dry brush on here. You see the texture on here because the linseed oil. Sometimes, if look good on that kind of mark, I just leave that. So that's something about how you paint more expressive approach to using some texture for your painting. Not rendering everything. You see it.
Mm-hmm.
One secret to me to using the color in shadow part, normally I putting quite a lot of color on it, really rich color on the shadow, but not much about the detail about the structure, no matter any subject matter structure. So more color on the shadow part, more structure on the light and the middle tone part, maybe less color on the light. So that's the way to see in between the structure and detail and the variation of color in between the light part and shadow part.
Mm-hmm.
Now I touch a little bit. Sorry.
Call from Pen. Hello, is Joy there? Hello, I'm Dorian.
So I'm going to pushing the light part a little bit cooler for this piece. Merge with the brown. I don't think we need much definition in between the light on the cloth and the light on the ground.
Mm-hmm.
I believe using the shadow on this small piece of the cloth is good enough to suggesting what is this on here. So let's make that part look small for on less on that side, make that part look small. And also so picking up the shade on that part, lost the shade to the light on that part. The reason for that, number one, you can see the variation about the handling about in between the light and shadow. Two, after that part faded in the light, you get a strong feeling of the light hitting on this surface, wash out the edge. So the feeling of the lighting better, no matter you see the edge or not.
When you start this painting from scratch, do you typically work dark to light?
Yeah. My method is working from dark to the light, particularly because this panel or the canvas is white canvas, white panel. So working from dark, white way you can establish two value, dark and the light to zoom, making a two value statement on the painting. Quickly to establish that statement for that. After you have dark and light, so adding the mid-tone on it. But if you're working on the dark surface, you might start from light. But most of the time, I start from light surface. So I start from dark to the light.
Okay.
So now you can see this blocking this. Basically, you can see pretty. You don't really see much detail. You only see the few stroke on here. It's kind of start pretty abstract looking in the beginning, but later on, when you're picking out some critical detail, not every detail you need, the people will be able to realize that is the piece or cloth and see the full things like that. So now I'm getting thicker and thicker pen, putting more layer and layer on the surface. Make sure, for instance, the even little things when you're using the brush mark, you see that piece of the cloth, one is upper edge, one is kind of the side edge on here. So the way to using the brush mark and the edge, probably you need to have a different handling for that to show that kind of turn between the edge on the top on the side right there. So I'm using a little bit different. So this a little bit more gentle and soft. So more sharper on here, things like that. I intend to keep this piece of the cloth on the light side a little bit cooler than what I see from a photo. I think this bring the interesting color relationship, and also show the sunlight hitting from the back of the figure. Looks cooler. I think that will be help the painting.
Yeah.
Like what I mentioned, I want this piece of the left side, that area of the cloth, once extending to the shadow, break this edge, get a better structure for the composition. So that's what I intend to do. So get this, break this into it. So you can, if you have a chance to look at the reference photo, that's the small things I change. The reason for that is for the structure of the composition, the better structure of the composition. Kind of so soft that light up the edge, get a little bit more soft transition, feeling more distant on there. And in order to show the relationship to the edge of the arm, used to be about a similar quality on the edge, right on here and right on the forearm on the figure right here. So now soft more, I can see bring this edge stand out more. So that's a less more on here. So every touch, every edge, sometimes every color have a meaning for the painting. Not, of course, it's come from the life, come from the reference, but also you understanding that that's going to be given some meaning for the painting. Not just because you see, because you need, because you want, but also from what you see. So turning your piece of, turning your painting to be a piece of art, and also same time, is you create another life. Photo, the subject is a life. Your painting is another life. Even look like the subject, but it's already another life on there.
Yeah. We've got about 5 more minutes.
Okay. So I make this soft a little bit because same idea. I don't want to competing that much, competing to the arm much. So I soft that. I know this edge is not the finished one, but I make this soft enough for this moment before I continue with 5. The purpose, all the edge control, for now I want to create the glow of the light, some kind of halo around the figure, things like that.
Mm-hmm.
So capture the atmosphere, the feeling of the light, not duplicating every detail part I see from the photo. But overall, the atmosphere, overall, the feeling I got from the subject, I want to put this on, but not all the detail I see from there. The edge, for instance, is the edge of the drapery, that part, the shadow. This shadow become a big dark edge on here. So I don't want to have a heavy solid one edge. So somewhere I break this part a little bit. So that's not what I see, but that's what I feel. You can feel the photo. You can see a little bit with flat light here. It's bring me some kind of motivation for break this edge. Five minutes already?
You got 2 more.
So now we're using angle brush, kind of a medium, small medium, to gonna give a little bit hint about the detail. Hint mean he not rendering all the detail on there. So when you're using a brush stroke, not always from top moving down. Sometimes from bottom picking heat on the upper area. So you create much more interesting and different quality of the brush mark to composing the painting. So not simply just describe the object, and making the brush mark have a significance for something.
Okay, well, that's our 5 minutes. Before we turn this off, are you able to show us your palette, or at least tell us what colors you use in your palette?
Okay, sure. So that's what I use. You guys can see it?
Yeah.
So titanium white, 𝗵𝗵 yellow, 𝗵𝗵 red, glittering crimson, Van Eyck brown, cerulean blue, light blue, ultramarine blue. So that basically that color I'm using for my regular palette. Sometimes I add something different, but this is my regular palette. Yeah.
Wonderful.
All right. So should I facing to you again?
Yeah. Let's do that.
Let me.
There we are.
Hey.
That was awesome. Thank you for sharing that. That was such an interesting way of trying to add to your paintings.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. For those of you who don't know, you actually have a new video that's just released, don't you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just released.
Yeah, it did. Let me see if I can find that. We've got a picture of it. I'm gonna find. Oh, no, that's not the one.
That's the older one.
Yeah, that's his older one. Let's see. There it is. Enchanting Portraits.
Yeah.
You do, so you talk a lot about it, but the brush strokes that you use, those lost and found edges, you do such a great job with that. And then the atmosphere and the light that you bring into your paintings is just amazing.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. So you guys should check out that video. It just released last Thursday, I think. So it's still on a pre-release. So you save $20 if you buy it before Thursday. So be sure to check that out. And then we also have Zhaoming is also going to be on Realism Live coming up here in November. Do you know yet what you're going to talk about?
What I'm going to talk about that?
Yeah. Do you know what you're gonna do at Realism Live?
I'm going to work on the image, same as I'm using right now, but from the beginning to the middle stage. How to start, how to structure the composition.
Yeah.
Using a little bit unusual technique for the beginning. So basic on the key of the painting. So for instance, sometimes you paint the low key, sometimes you paint the middle key, sometimes you paint the high key. From the different key, are using different technique to approach that, particularly for the beginning field section, field part, field stage. So that's I show on the going to do on the Realism Live on November to show the different technique, not totally traditional technique.
Yeah, that's going to be really cool. So if you guys have not heard of Realism Live, that's coming up in November. It is a great opportunity for you to paint along with some fabulous artists. We've got an Essential Techniques Day the day before if you need to get a refresher or you need to kind of understand some basic principles of realism painting. And there's a lot of different styles of realism. You know, a lot of people think it's just, this tight academic, but there's actually, impressions and, all varieties of realism art, realist art, I guess I should say. But yeah, so this is going to be a fantastic event. It's 3 days, 4 days with essentials. I really encourage you to check it out, especially if you want to see how Zhaoming starts his painting that he did today. So be sure to check that out. I want to thank you guys all so much for joining us. Thank you to Zhaoming for joining us today. Yeah, this is I love doing this. It's such a great opportunity to be able to do this show. Eric is so lucky that he gets to do this every single day of the week. And then for those of you who are watching today, we also have our free ebook, 10 Steps to Become a High-Level Figure and Portrait Artist. So check that out if you are interested in taking your realism art to the next level. And then be sure to continue watching Art School Live. Eric is here 5 days a week, Monday through Friday. He does Monday is Marketing Monday, Friday is Feedback Friday, and then he has art lessons Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. And I'm actually going to be back here tomorrow with 𝗣𝗶𝗁, pastel artist, who is going to be on Pastel Live. So I'm super excited. I hope you guys will be here to join me. Thank you to Zhaoming, and thank you all so much for watching today.
Thank you, everybody.